Hello boys and girls, this is Mr. So. Welcome back for another lesson of biology. Today we are going through lesson 43 of chapter 29, the fossil records. Before you start watching the video, remember to like and subscribe my channel and also share the video to your classmates. Let's start. All the organisms nowadays having a great diversity, they all come from a common ancestor, and we call this the theory of evolution. There are many evidence in the world showing that evolution really occurs. One of the examples is fossils, 化石. Fossils, they are the preserved remains or trace of some ancient organisms. And there are two types of these fossils. One of them, we call them the body fossils, such as the picture on the right showing the head of the dinosaur. Or the second type, the trace fossils. Let's take a look at them one by one. Body fossils includes the body parts of an organism. Examples are the bones of the dinosaur's skull, or the teeth of the sharks, or the snail shell. Body fossils provide the information on the existence of the ancient organisms and how they look based on their body structure. Now the question is, what about the flesh? What about the muscles, the blood vessels, etc.? Where are they? They are all gone. Because they are dissolved parts, they decay, they undergo decomposition, and therefore they are all gone. The only part remains is the skeleton, the bones. With the deposition of minerals onto the bones and skeleton, they now become fossils, 化石. Another type of fossils is called the trace fossils. It shows the structures caused by the activity of the organism, such as the footprints of a dinosaur, the burrows of some worms, or the dung of the dinosaurs. Speaking of the trace fossils, iCable TV News reported a discovery of dinosaurs trace fossils in Australia. Let's take a look. 澳洲西北部金伯利地區咧，咁就發現到好大量嘅恐龍行過嘅足跡啊！咁呢啲咧就當年嘅腳印變成而家嘅腳印化石啦，我哋叫做 trace fossils。咁啊，科學家咧亦都可以揾得到原來咧咁多種嘅腳印化石入邊咧，可以辨認出原來有21種嘅恐龍品種嘅。咁所以原來咧澳洲當年咧應該係有好大量嘅恐龍喺上面生活過啦，亦都有好大量嘅恐龍咧喺上面遷徙過嘅。Let's take a look at how the fossils are formed. When an organism died and then it is decomposed and becomes the skeleton, it is buried in the mud and sand, for example, under the sea. Later on, some new mud and sand are carried from the rivers and they will cover up the dead body or the skeleton of an organism. After millions of years, more sand and mud covers the dead body and skeleton, causing a great pressure. The mud and sand become rocks, very, very hard. Plus the deposition of the minerals into the skeleton now become fossils. Due to the earth movement, the rocks which is originally covered by water will be raised up above the water. Due to further earth movement or weathering, the fossils may be exposed and therefore scientists can discover them. Besides forming some hard skeleton fossils, some remains of the organism can also be preserved in resins, 樹脂, or ice. Let's take a look at the picture on the left. It is showing you a fossilized resin. We call that the ember, Chinese 琥珀. As you can see, a spider or maybe an insect can be trapped inside the fossilized resin as ember, and the ember with insects inside can be very expensive as jewelry nowadays. The picture on the right shows you a mammoth, 猛獁象. It is being preserved inside the ice. The body is still intact. You can see the hair and the body structure very clearly preserved inside the ice. Now you might wonder, why don't the organisms being trapped in the resins or ice decompose? Why don't they decay? The answer is, because there are no oxygen in the resin, it's air-free. So therefore, without oxygen, decomposition cannot occur. The decomposers cannot work. What about in the ice? Because in the ice, the temperature is very low, maybe -°C below zero. So the enzymes which helps in decompositions, they are inactive. They cannot work very well. So the organisms can be preserved very well with intact hair structure and flesh, etc. To study evolution, you will need the record from the fossils. Where do you find fossils? They are usually preserved in sedimentary rocks. In Chinese, 沉積岩. When we talk about fossil records and sedimentary rocks, they are not actually very far away from us. Instead, we have sedimentary rocks in Hong Kong. It is located in Tung Ping Chau. In the pictures, you can see the characteristics of sedimentary rocks. The sedimentary rocks, they have different layers and different colors. And in different layers, you will be able to find the fossils which are dead in different ages. For the fossils record, which you can find on the very bottom oldest rock, they are the earliest fossils. While for the rocks which are at the top of the sedimentary rocks, they are the youngest rock and it contains the most recent fossils. And this shows a sequence of fossils and we call this fossils record. Fossil records suggest that the modern species looks very similar to the fossilized species and they have a very close resemblance. The fossilized species can have a very high resemblance with the modern species. So what is the modern species highly resembling to this fossil? It should be a snake. Easy to understand, right? Next, this fossilized species, it has a close resemblance with dragonfly as the modern species. Next, what about this one? Do you know what does it resembling in the modern species? Does it have legs? Nope. Does it have a rib cage? Yes. Is this a mammal? I think so. So the modern species which has a high resemblance with these fossil species is probably the marine mammal, maybe the dolphin. The final one, this one pretty straightforward, right? This is a bird. So the modern species highly resembling the fossilized species should be the bird. Let's take a look at the question. Explain how the study of fossils give evidence for evolution, 进化. Given that there is a very close resemblance, 相似, between the fossilized and modern living species. So, to conclude, the existing life form, it must arouse from 來自 the pre-existing life form. Fossil record also shows that at the very old rocks, you have fossils which are very simple. Prokaryotes maybe, bacteria-like. While in the younger rocks, you will be able to see the fossils with very complex structures such as the eukaryotes. So what is the conclusion that you get? That is, probably, organisms, they develop from simple form to a complex form. This is the hypothesis. Same question again. Explain how the study of fossils provide evidence for evolution. So because given that the complex fossils can be found in the younger rocks, well, for the simple fossils, such as the prokaryotes single-cell fossils, they are found in the old rocks at the bottom. So the conclusion is this agrees with the hypothesis. 假設 that the organisms evolved from simple to complex form. The following picture shows you some key featured animals in different age throughout the sedimentary rocks in the history. I would like to focus on the Mesozoic era. Zhongsangdai, where you can find a lot of dinosaurs and reptiles. Sometimes we call it the age of dinosaurs or age of reptiles. You can also find the Jurassic period lying in between the Mesozoic era as well. Mesozoic era starts right after a gigantic mass extinction of organisms. So at the beginning of the Mesozoic eras, the diversity of organisms is very low. The types of organisms which you can find are very little in the amount. However, from one period going to another, you can see the diversity of organisms start to increase. And when the times go by, from Jurassic period going to the next period, the diversity even increase. So what do you know is that throughout the history, the diversity of organisms start to go from low to high. Let's answer the question again. Explain how the study of fossils provide evidence for evolution. That is, what you observe, a greater diversity of fossils. They are found in the younger rocks, the rocks on the upper layer. So, it agrees with the hypothesis that, that the organisms evolved from a common ancestor. Please go to your textbook, page 15, to finish the MCQ over there. Imagine you are an archaeologist, 考古學家. Now you are asked to estimate the age of a fossils. What you can do? You have to use the technique called the radioisotope dating. In Chinese, 放射性同位素定年法. This method helps to get the information about the time of existence of the fossils of the organisms. One of the very commonly used radioisotope dating method is called the carbon dating, 碳測年. Let's understand what is carbon dating. There are actually different types of carbon in the natural environment. Some of them we call them the carbon-12, some of them are called the carbon-13, and the last one we call them the carbon-14. And the carbon-14 is actually radioactive. That means it can give out radiation. But the radiation is harmless to all the organisms, so we don't have to worry. These carbon-14, it will combine with the atmospheric oxygen to form some radioactive carbon dioxide. And this radioactive carbon dioxide, it will go into the plants as photosynthesis and become part of the plant as the sugar, the carbohydrates. When the animal tries to eat the plants, the animal will get the carbon-14 into their body. So when the animal dies, the animal will stop exchanging carbon with the environment, and therefore the amount of carbon-14 inside their body will start to decrease as the carbon-14 undergo some radiation. We call it the radioactive decay. By looking at the amount of radioactive carbon-14 left inside the body, we can know what is the time of death of the organism, such as when the organism died, it has in the body 100% of carbon-14. However, after 5,730 years, the amount of carbon-14 is reduced by half. And then when the carbon-14 in the body further reduced by half to become 25%, times further go by. So using the method, we can estimate the time of death of the organisms, or we can estimate the existent age of the organisms using the carbon dating method. By using the radioisotope dating, such as the carbon dating, we can estimate the age of the Earth. The formation of Earth started around 4,600 million years ago. Based on the theory of evolution, some scientists proposed that the first animal with backbone might be a fish, And the fish always live under the water as their habitat. However, under the effect of evolution, some of the fish they develop limbs, legs, 前肢, and some of them they climb up away from the water and occupy lands and become the amphibians, 两棲類. Some of the amphibians they further evolve to develop hard scales on top of their body. They become the reptiles, 爬行類. And after many years, the reptiles they further evolve to become maybe mammals, 哺乳類, or maybe they evolve into dinosaurs, 恐龍, or some of them they further evolve to develop wings on their body, and they occupy the sky as the bird. Around 0.2 million years ago, and this is the time when we first discovered human. There are many examples to show that evolution really occurs on organisms. One of the examples is horse. 60 million years ago, the leg of a horse is rather short, but take a look at the legs of a horse nowadays is a lot longer. So we can observe that the legs become a lot longer, and the number of toes also reduced. Let's take a look. In 60 million years ago, there are 3 toes on the leg of a horse, but nowadays only 1 toe on the leg. If you compare the size of the horse, the modern horse they are a lot bigger in size as well. If you are an archaeologist, 考古學家, you will find that there are many limitations of fossil records. It is very difficult to find a continuous fossil record. It's seldom found, and there are actually gaps and missing links between the fossil records in the sedimentary rocks. Do you know why? The first reason is maybe some organisms they're not able to form fossils, like the body or the dead organisms may be eaten or decay before fossilization. The conditions is not suitable for forming fossils. Maybe you don't have a great pressure, you don't have mud. Some organisms, they cannot be fossilized because they are soft-bodied organisms, such as the jellyfish. It is also very hard to find a complete set of fossils as a continuous record because some fossils, they are located in some inaccessible areas, such as the deep sea. You cannot go there, right? Some of the fossils, they are incomplete or maybe damaged. It's hard to find the other half, which is missing. The last part is, it's very difficult to discover fossils. The chance for getting it is very low. If you're lucky, you can get one, but if you're unlucky, you cannot find anything. The case of finding a very intact, preserved fossil is very rare. So the case of finding a frozen mammoth is a very lucky case. That is the lesson about the fossil records. I will see you in the next video. Bye bye.